Good morning everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. So I am here over on the east side of my house again, and you can see I'm actually across the street because I wanted to give you guys a really good view of my oak tree garden bed. It's a project that I started working on a week or two ago, and I am super excited about it. So I live on a corner lot, and I really have been focusing ever since we moved into this house. I've been focusing on the front of my house and my backyard. Obviously the areas that I can see when I come and go from my house, and the areas that I'm going to be hanging around. Now over on this side of my yard, I never come over here. It is, just an attachment to my yard. And so I've been neglecting it for years, ever since we moved into this house a couple years ago. So I want that to change. I was speaking to my neighbor who lives right there in that yellow house right there. This area is actually in front of his house. So he sees this area all the time, drives by it multiple times a day. And it's also a really prominent area. There's a neighborhood going that way, and people drive by. This is like the thoroughfare to get in and out of this neighborhood. So people drive by this garden bed all the time. See? So I think it's important to, even though I don't have eyes on this garden bed, I think a lot of people have eyes on this garden bed, and I think it will help kind of doll the area up if I get it all cleaned up and fixed up. So I've already cleaned out this area. Jason and I, we took all the weeds out and we cleaned it out. I've also transplanted my plumbago there and added an espalier along the fence, which I think is going to look absolutely beautiful. So now it's time to start picking out what plants I want, shopping for those plants, and planting those plants. Now, the one caveat I have with planting in this garden bed is, I already told you, it's called my oak tree garden bed, and that is because I have this gorgeous oak tree right here. Absolutely beautiful. It is like, the icing on the cake for my yard. I love it there, and I want to take care of it. So I am going to be talking about California native oaks today. There are over 90 different varieties of oaks in America, in North America. And so I'm not talking about all the different types of oaks. If you're in the South where it's really humid and it's wet conditions, I know you guys have a lot of oaks down there that aren't as, you don't have to be as concerned with planting close to those oaks and their water, and their drought tolerance and all that kind of stuff. So obviously I'm not talking about those kind of oaks. I'm talking about only the varieties that are native to California. Here in California, we are a very dry climate. During the summer, we basically have zero rainfall, and the oaks are used to that. And so what can happen is, if you change any type of homeostasis that these native oaks are used to, you can cause a lot of problems. And it's well documented that when California native oaks get too much irrigation, too much water around their drip line and around their trunks, they actually can cause diseases like rot and cause the oak tree to suffer and possibly even die. Now, my dad would kill me for telling you guys this, but we actually have experience with this. When we moved into the house that I grew up for most of my life in Santa Rosa, we had this beautiful, majestic oak tree in the front yard. I don't know who installed the sprinkler system before we had moved in, but there was a sprinkler system that was installed right around the oak tree, and every couple days the sprinklers would go and it would irrigate the whole area, and actually it was causing rot of that oak tree. And that oak tree, when we were living there, it actually fell over and fell onto our Ford Bronco and cut our Ford Bronco in half. So I actually have experience on what can happen if you improperly plant around an oak tree and over irrigate it. We had an arborist come and check out the tree to see what was wrong with it, and he said the whole thing was rotted from the inside due to too much irrigation. So I want to be really cautious and make sure that I don't do the same thing to this oak tree. This oak tree seems really healthy, seems like there's no issues with it. I feel like the only issues are the pruning that's going on. I'll show you guys another view of it, but there are some power lines that kind of go right through the middle. So the city basically chops it in half. And I think that's the only issue, but obviously the oak can handle that. It's just kind of a weird look in certain angles. So what I did is I researched, you know, everything that I could find on how to plant underneath California oaks so to not damage it. And one of the best resources I found is this booklet called Compatible Plants Under and Around Oaks. And it's from the California Oaks Foundation, and I will leave a link in the description below. It is free. They made it free to the public, and it is so helpful. So all of my information is going to be coming from this booklet, and I really, if you guys live in California and if you plant anywhere around oak trees, I really encourage you guys to read it. It is super helpful, and it also gives you a very comprehensive list of all the different types of plants that are safe to plant under oak trees. So all of my plant choices I have made based off of what the recommendations were in this booklet, Compatible Plants for Planting Under and Around Oaks. So when I was researching what plants I wanted to plant in this garden bed in front of my property, and then kind of even coming over here in front of my neighbor's property, I was following the direction of obviously what would be good to plant under the oak tree, and that would be California native and low water, drought tolerant plants that were California native. And there's actually a ton of plants, really beautiful plants that you can choose from once you start looking. This booklet that I was talking about, it has a list of all the plants that you can actually look through based on the bloom color, which is exactly what I wanted, because if you guys can see, my neighbor's house is this beautiful buttery yellow color. And then if you look at a color wheel, what is the complementary color to yellow? Purple. So I decided to go for a full purple, violet, blue color scheme for this whole garden bed right here. And then my neighbor loves chartreusey lime green foliage, so I added some of that in to make it pop under this filtered sun area. So let me show you guys a picture of my drawing. Now I have to tell you guys, I am an amateur, so this is just a fun drawing that I did. This is not professional in any way. Okay, so I'm sitting over here on the curb. I'm going to show this to you guys like this. Hopefully you guys can see this. If not, I'll put a screenshot of it up on the screen right now. But this is my plan that I drew up just on this graph paper. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. I'm excited to have something kind of like laid out and cohesive and a plan behind it. And like I said, not only are all of these plants on this California Oak Foundation Compatible Plants booklet, but they all are violet, lavender, purple, which is a complementary color to yellow, which is the color of my neighbor's house. And pretty much anywhere you stand when you're looking at this garden bed, you see his house in the background, and I think that that's going to make the purple pop. The purple is going to pop against the yellow, and the yellow is going to pop against the purple. Then my neighbor does love that chartreusey lime green color, so that is the other complementary color that I'm going to use in this plan. Okay, so some of the plants that I chose, and I will put a picture up on the screen of all of them. One of them is the Pugster Blue butterfly bush from Proven Winners. So I kind of dotted those all around. This is a smaller butterfly bush. It gets about 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, and I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful and perfect. It is drought tolerant, so it's going to be perfectly happy underneath this oak tree. It's going to bring pollinators to the area, and it's going to be that beautiful blue color, which I love. Then you can see kind of dotted all around that, I have pincushion flower, which is an annual, but it actually, when I had pincushion flower planted actually in this garden bed, it actually just stayed all season long, and it was even blooming in December and January. So I think it will be really happy here, and then I can always grow those from seed, and that will be really, really cheap. We do have the lily turf. The lily turf is still there, and then I have 2 more here. So I will just add those kind of all around there, and I'm gonna just kind of line the sidewalk right here to kind of bring this whole area together and meld it together. Okay, so after pincushion flower and lily turf, I have here a lime heuchera or a coral bells. And I was really excited to plant coral bells under the tree, the oak tree. I knew those were good to plant under the oak tree, and I was thinking about planting a couple different colors, but I think I'm gonna have a lot of that purpley color, so I think a lime heuchera will be really beautiful. Then I have sea lavender, and sea lavender is one of those plants that I wasn't really familiar with, and then I was walking by one of my neighbor's houses and saw it and thought, God, what is that gorgeous purple color. So I think it will be perfect. You guys can see that bloom color right here. I think it'll look so pretty with all of these. These big ones back here, these 3 big ones, these are called Cleveland sage, and it's a salvia. And I'm not very familiar with it, but from what I read, it can get up to 5 feet wide, which is huge. So I think that that will be really pretty, and the pollinators will love it. And it's another one of those that the California Oaks Foundation listed as perfect for planting under the oak. Then we have the Salvia leucantha, or the Santa Barbara salvia, that I'm going to plant in the corner over here where I have my sunflower weed, because this area gets a lot more sun as the day goes on, and the Santa Barbara salvia needs some more sun. So I think that'll be a really pretty pop of purple right there. Then you guys can see we have these green ones, and these are all southern sword fern. And I actually already have those planted in my front yard, and they're super, super happy. Yes, they are a fern, but no, they do not need moisture like normal ferns do. They actually grow and propagate via rhizomes, and they thrive in our climate, thrive in it. So I think it'll be a really pretty backdrop, you know, kind of all over here, kind of the sword ferns, and they will grow. I will actually have to, I think as the year goes on, I will actually have to come in and like pull some of them and limit their growth, because I think they will be so happy in this area back here. So those are going to be right in front of the plumbago espalier. And then right here I have a mock orange, and this is my Belle Etoile mock orange that I bought at Annie's Annuals, and I think it's going to be so, so beautiful. Again, I was so happy to see that listed as one of the good plants to plant under an oak tree. I'm going to put it about right there, and it's going to get pretty tall, kind of like bushy, and it has not purple flowers, it actually has white flowers, but really beautiful, and I think it is a perfect addition for that spot. So this is my plan thus far. Of course it can change, and as I go to the store and start shopping for these plants, I might find something else that I love and I think is gorgeous, but this is kind of the direction that I am planning to go for this whole garden bed. And I have to say, I'm super excited about this direction. I'm really happy for how everything kind of came together with that California Oaks booklet and what plants they had listed there, and I feel really confident that these plants are going to thrive, and this oak tree is going to thrive as well. So the goal is, as I was reading with all these plants, is that I will have to irrigate them the first couple years, probably the first 3 years. And we do have drip. You guys can kind of see the tubing right there. We do have drip to the area, but then after the first 3 years, you should be able to cut back the irrigation to this area and these plants significantly, to the point where you might not even need irrigation, which would be fantastic, right? So they say oak trees do not need excess, extra irrigation at all, maybe possibly in times of drought. We are full on in a drought right now, so I think it is the perfect year to be planting these plants, because the irrigation that they do need is going to just help this oak tree get a little bit excess water in a drought year. So I think it actually is working out really, really well for this garden bed, and I'm so excited that I get to share it with you guys, and you guys get to come with me from step 1 all the way to the end. Okay, so I know in my last video I said that my next step was shopping, but I really did want to explain to you guys a little bit more of my thought process for this garden bed, what I had planned, and why I was picking the specific plants that I was planning to pick. I wanted to kind of lay it out there, because like I said, this is kind of a more complicated garden bed than I'm used to. I have my front yard, and I don't have to worry about anything except for lighting requirement. That is it. And this is completely different. I'm dealing with kind of weird lighting requirement. I'm dealing with the oak tree. I'm dealing with irrigation issues, all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to fit the puzzle pieces together and then see if you can find something that you actually love and think is going to be beautiful that's going to go in this area. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, about the Oak Tree Foundation or any of the other information, leave them in the comment section. I will answer them as best I can. But again, all of the information I got was from that free booklet, which I really recommend. If you guys live in California and live near any California native oaks, take a look at that, because it's super, super informative. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get into your garden today.